once again and just see if hopefully that will help me hold stability. And we'll hope to God that this is not like going to be just a repeated issue. I will try. Okay, so the overall quality should take a little bit of a dip. I don't know why we weren't having this issue yesterday, so I don't know why today is deciding it hates me. I'm just gonna keep an eye on this for a moment. Hold on. Okay, just take a. We'll take a moment. So that looks better. That looks like it's holding up enough. We're gonna try going from here, and I do apologize to everyone for having that happen, but we'll get right into the picks and bans here. Starting things off, Hawks Gaming versus V3 Esports. Scalio taken away from Ace in the mid lane right away. Understandable takeaway from Hawks Gaming. It's V3 is kind of just the team that will. A lot of teams have their picks that you feel the need to ban away. Ray, we see Darius bans all the time. Into Saros, we commonly used to see a lot of Heimerdinger bans. Ace, he owns the Galio ban, and he will incur that in most scenarios that he finds himself as he just is too active on it. But the thing that V3 kind of suffers from is that Ace doesn't always play the carry position as well as the supportive mid laner. Where Galio is such a standout champion for him, but his performance on the Jace just was not up to snuff against CGA. And ended up being part of their undoing in their last series. Now, that is not to say that V3 Esports, Ace can't play other picks. He's definitely an accomplished, excuse me, he is definitely an accomplished mid laner in his own right. But he's been struggling a little bit to find consistent value all the way across, and this time, Ashe is banned away. Bard is still open. But Hawks Gaming are going to lock themselves in the Aphelios. Now, V3 Esports, you are in a great position. Alright, and V3 Esports locking in the Karma and the Graves right away, as Hawks Gaming responding with the Thresh and thinking about their next pickup. I do like the Graves pickup. I personally would have possibly liked to have seen something like a Trundle, as I do think the Pillar is slightly more effective as a zoning tool into Aphelios specifically, but Tussel's going to be locking in his Lee Sin as the jungle response pool, and V3 going to be locking in Ezreal for their AD carry position. Now, honestly, with a jungler like Boogie, I might have said that it would have been worth it for them to more along look for something like either Trundle or possibly drafting themselves up a Zoe on this R3 pickup if they want to be all-inning for a very poke-style comp. Because aggressing onto an Aphelios is always notoriously hard, but it's not an insurmountable task. It's definitely doable, but the later the game goes, the scarier and scarier that proposition becomes. So, with Kennen taken off the table, V3 are going to pinch away at a couple of those teamfight tools that Hawks Gaming would like, while Ornn is going to be taken away, removes that long-range engage tool. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a Zoe ban alongside that, while V3 Set already banned away, as well as Ashe and Galio, so you don't need to be too worried about a lot of the remaining team fight tools, but taking away LeBlanc might be a show that V3 are still considering that Zoe. And with Hawks Gaming passing that one over, this might be the opportunity that V3 are looking for. Does hopefully try to set up a favorable matchup for the top lane, but I disagree that it was worth what you're trading over, as Zoe is going to be the pickup here for V3 Esports. Now, Hawks Gaming have a couple of options still available. You can draft things like a Maokai if you want. It is somewhat risky, as you do risk it being kind of punished heavily. There's things like Renekton in the top lane and other champions that can really abuse a top lane tank. Wukong as well doesn't really abuse top lane tanks, but Wukong is somewhat of a weaker early laner, so it feels a bit better to be picking a Wukong here. And it isn't punished too hard like by things like Renekton, so it's not a bad pickup by any means. And is Dasher going to be locking in the Kassadin? It is a very Dasher-style champion, and he is going to be locking that one in. It is a little bit risky, as staying melee range into a Zoe with a Graves in the jungle can be a very risky prospect, but we'll see what V3 decide to do. We've seen Paz play things like Aatrox and Mordekaiser into the top lane, but I believe that might be a Karma going up to the top lane. And it looks like it will be Zoe in the mid lane, and Nautilus finding his way into the support position. Little bit of a late end counter to the Thresh that found its way in, but ultimately not a bad matchup for the top lane of things. You don't have to worry about Aramic getting completely washed by a Karma. The risky part is that the gank setup at level 6 is fairly consistent for Aramic in the top side. You can dash in, you can use the ultimate, you'll have 2 knockups, and then that'll be plenty of time for Tussle to get in there and secure that kill. So they need to be a little bit worried about that. But that aside, I am happy to see Wukong returning to the meta. We're missing a Dasher and a Boogie here, and Paz's face is also not going to make it onto the champion select screen, but we're all trying to make it work here in the LJL COVID world, where you can still see the divider between our two casters here, and fortunately I am alone, safe in my room. There's no COVID in here, there's none that can come get me, but hope you are all staying safe at home as well. I do know it's worse for wear times right now, but we are all doing our best to try and still make our lives work and still enjoy some quality League of Legends. So I do appreciate you guys all tuning in, and there we go. Paz got his face back, and Boogie and Dasher both get their champions back. Now I will say that I really do like V3's comp here on paper. A lot of other regions have done very, very well with specifically V3, or with specifically, like, in other regions. LCK, I think most notably, has piloted poke comps to great success. In the LJL, however, poke comps have kind of been lacking in their show. It's not that they haven't been working to exact success, it's mostly that a lot of the poke comps just have not been netting a whole lot of value, or have not been executed on very superbly in terms of draft. They will usually draft one poke member, but then not really have all the rest of the pieces, and then top lane won't be exactly working with them. This is, I think, an ideal setup for V3 Esports. You could have also gone for something like a Jace into the top lane if you really wanted to all in on the poke, but the thing I do like about V3's comp is Graves and Karma both set up a scenario where you can just send out a couple spells to zone away any members of Hawks that want to try and get in on you. Possibly could have done with swapping out the Nautilus, but it's a minor note when you're looking at the overall lineup here. And if V3 can find early control around objectives, they'll hopefully be able to put these comps to the test. And especially with champions like Kassadin or Aphelios that have to get decently close to be able to do damage, they'll find opportunity there. And the only thing I am really worried about is Honey. We've seen even in comps where an Aphelios is not getting a whole lot of value and they try to aggress on him, there's still always that potential for 200 years, and hopefully he'll be knocked out before they have to send Graves in to finish the job, but that'll all remain to be seen as we wait for this game to be started up. If you're asking for post-draft predictions, I have to hand this one to V3 Esports. I think they've proven themselves a solid team, and I think they've definitely done enough to earn their renown even after their loss to CGA. But it's the CGA is the only team that you're really losing to. They're the only team that has really kind of solidified themselves in second place, especially with Sengoku's sort of fall from grace. And CGA holding the positive record over Sengoku. All of that being said, I don't mind what V3 have here, and I'm hoping that they're going to be executing. I definitely feel like Hawks Gaming has the potential to make this comp work, especially with a late game Kassadin and Aphelios on the table. The question will definitely be a lot more in the onus of Tussle. I really am hoping we're going to see him get some pop-off plays here. He is one of the, like I mentioned before, one of the premier Lee Sins of the LJL. I think he is among the top echelon of not only Lee Sins, but junglers in general. But the junglers are going to be the ones you want to be tracking throughout this kind of a game, because Boogie and Tussle are kind of looked at as the top two junglers of the LJL, and Boogie, of course, has his own international record to speak for him with his time on Flash Wolves. Now here in the LJL, you'd expect him to find a similar amount of value, but will remain to be seen. And you can see here on the stat screen, V3 have kind of earned their spot. They're holding all second places. I believe all of those first places are held by Sengoku Gaming. That being said, that's a team that V3 has beaten before, and is kind of just, Sengoku has kind of fallen a little bit towards this later leg of the playoffs. Sengoku, of course, does have playoff spot guaranteed. I don't think there's any real way that they could lose it. But the way they've been losing is really what's concerning for me, because there is always that sort of notion where you could say, oh, towards the end of playoffs, you know, teams are getting a little bit lax or they're trying new things, but it doesn't look like that has been the story so far.
LJL 2020サマースプリットウィーク6ゲーム3福岡ソフトバンクホークスゲーミング vs V3 スポーツの試合スタートです。
Alright, as we get things started along here, fairly expected runes all the way across. Ace, actually, most interestingly, is not going for the Unsealed Spellbook, is going for the Electrocute, wants that extra damage, wants to add to that poke potential, likely still has Nimbus Cloak sitting in the back pocket of the secondary runes, which is just such an amazing spell on Zoe specifically, when she can pick up so many other summoner spells and get value out of that. But I like the Electrocute and Ignite take from here, because Dasher is going to be susceptible. That is, historically, Kassadin is just a very weak laner, especially until level 6, when you have, once you have the Rift, or the Void Walk enabled, and you have any way to dodge a spell reliably, helps out quite a bit, but he'll have to get there first. And with Boogie starting on the blue side of Hawks Gaming here, He is kind of forcing Tussle into a little bit of an odd-ended path. He's going to be going wolves to red on his start. While they also have a little bit of deep vision onto the red side of V3 Esports. So once once Boogie heads back over that way, they will know roughly where he is. And you can see a question ping coming out to the wolves as Boogie just got a lot of information off of checking that wolf camp. He knows now that Tussle started there. And there it is. You can see the pings over to Boogie as well. So they have decent idea of where each other have been starting this game, especially considering where Boogie came from. We'll see which team ends up playing a little bit better around it. And you can see the who will win from the Twitter votes. People are starting to have faith in Hawks Gaming, and I can't exactly blame them either. The AI, of course, favoring Aphelios in this one, as well as Tussle's past performances on the Lee Sin, but as Tussle's looking for a gank opportunity onto Ace here, depends on if Ace walks too far up for this minion. We should just be able to one-shot that wave with the Q, but here comes Pooh and Tussle. He has flash available still, so isn't too worried. Dodges out on the Sonic Wave. He might just be able to walk away from this one. And the roam from the Thresh, not going to find value there, but it's not a bad look. As Tussle, yeah, good look from Tussle not to go contest onto that Rift Scuttler. You know that something is amiss when the Nautilus is conveniently gone around that time. And you don't want to go deep sea diving in the river with that Nautilus there. He will unfortunately get double crabbed off of that failed gank, and that's exactly what this matchup of teams is really going to be. Is if you are not, anytime you make a play that doesn't net value, both of these junglers are experienced and smart enough to know how to punish that. But speaking of which, I believe Armix saw him on the Grump, and they're going to make the call to back away. They're not going to fight this one out. But it looks like Tussle is going to face check him on the other side of things. Smites that away, so Boogie will be able to escape. Had Armix made the call to go all in onto him and fight him with Tussle, they might have been able to win that, but perhaps Armix didn't exactly see him, or they didn't feel confident in taking that fight. Either way, Boogie has a number of respawned camps to be taking. And after he cycles these through, you're really going to start seeing the advantage that Boogie has accrued off of the early ends of his pathing. And keeping Tussle away from 6 removes a lot of gank potency from the Lee Sin. Armix feeling the fun that is playing into Karma top lane as he gets mercilessly autoed under turret. Well, he will be forced to back away there, missing out on a little bit of those minions. Not a great feeling, but necessary one. As another teleport orb is going to drop in the base. Unfortunately, I don't think Ace will be grabbing those anytime soon, unless he wants to try a touchdown, as we always like to call it in the NA. Tussle, for now, though, is looking for ways to get vision onto this Ocean Drake. You can see a ping coming out from V3. That was most likely Boogie, who wants to try and get out onto it. So both of these bot laners are going to need to be shoving their lanes so that they can have priority. But with minion advantage in Hawks Gaming's favor, shouldn't be something, or, well, actually, shouldn't be something that Hawks Gaming are looking for altogether. V3 does have a back off already. Archer has a pickaxe and a fairy charm all over Honey, so isn't exactly a fight he can so willingly take. As well as just still needs all the time that Aphelios does to scale up. Should be a fairly safe dragon take as Ace. Oh, I didn't actually get to use the smite. I was wondering if they were going to combine smites there, but I think his smite fell off there at the end. And fortunately for Dasher, he's been able to make it through the worst parts of this lane. He did pick up a Null Magic Mantle just to help out on that one. And with that Ruby Crystal, likely we'll be going into Aroa very soon on here. So, as Tussle is going to be passing over the blue buff here, we're going to be enjoying a little while longer of just a casual lull state where Hawks Gaming still has a bit of scaling to do before they're really able to go toe-to-toe with V3 Esports. And knowing that, V3 are trying to find CS advantages all across the map, most notably top and jungle, finding a bit of advantage there. Boogie's already level 6. Thinking about an opportunity onto Dasher. The Q's going to go in, and Dasher is immediately going to give him the respect flash away. A little bit early, but understandably so, as you get hit by that trouble bubble. That might be a dead pause in the top lane, who is having his own little scrap with Armic. Boogie's wandering up here, but Tussle's going to be there first. Sonic Wave is going to land, but no kick. But here comes a sleep landed by Ace. Will the damage be enough? Armic doesn't take up the shot. He dashed past him. That might be dead for Armic. Oh, Ace with the invisible Q snipe. Ace, I take everything back. Beautiful play from Ace there to find 2 kills. And Armic living out off of that Paz living out off of Armic's all-in. We'll watch this one more time, where Tussle comes up here, but not being level 6 means he doesn't have kick to keep this play going, where it looked like it could have been an opportunity. V3 are ready for rotations. Tussle cannot follow that Sonic Wave through. And this is just so unfortunate. Armic, I think, tried to dash in the way to tank it, but ends up eating the full damage combo from Ace. And then that snipe is just a beautiful find from Ace. There is Honey getting aggressed on a little bit in the bot lane, but Lantern will pull him to safety. He's not too worried about that one. Full Summoner's still in his availability. And for now, V3 happy to pick up those 2 kills. And that will just mean that this Zoe does a bit of extra damage when it comes to these objective fights. Next one's going to be in about 2 minutes from now, while Ace is going to pick up the blue buff as well. This is not the worst position to be in if you are Hawks Gaming. It is somewhat expected, but giving 2 kills over to a champion like Zoe just gets so scary so quickly. Especially when, even after Dasher builds the Roa, if Roa is what he's going for here, it's going to take a decent while before he is 100% online. And on the top side of things, Pooh is wandering up here on a little bit of a warding quest that will, unfortunately for Paz, mean he's not allowed anywhere near the turret that he would like to be at. While Reyna, a little bit of a journey of his own to help out here. It's sort of the lane swap coming out here from Hawks Gaming to try and get a couple turret plates onto Paz in the top lane. It's a little bit risky with Armic already having a death and set a little bit behind by that earlier kill, and then as well a 30 CS differential because of just the lane matchup. I'm partially worried for Hawks Gaming here, but we'll see how Armic is able to play this one out on the bot side. Boogie's going to show up here to help try and force out these waves, get a couple turret plates over to his Ezreal, get a gold steroid going for him as well. He has Rift Herald, which he can spawn up just to give Archer a little extra love and attention. Tussle is here and has now level 7, so he does have kick on deck. But it doesn't look like that's going to be their MO. They're going to let this turret fall. And that's a nice little chunk of gold over to your AD carry there. And jungler as well, who already has been netting a gold and XP advantage in this game. But the stronger your poke carries means it's that much harder for Hawks to really get in. As the second charge is going to come through, Armik will be able to batter that down with the Q, but V3 are kind of just all hitting on these turrets. That's a second turret falling already, 2-0 in the turret department. This is a very early 3K gold advantage over to the side of V3 Esports. And you can see some pings now coming out. This is a little bit of a head scratcher when you're looking at Tussle in this one, where he was farming camps on that side of the map and decided completely to not help his top laner, who just lost 2 turrets for ultimately nothing, but he's also not punishing Paz alone in the top lane, who's just safely absorbing waves and pressure up on the top side of the map. We'll have to see how many turret plates he's lost in that time, but I can't imagine it is anything in comparison to what V3 are able to get about this, as well as stealing away Hawks Gaming's red buff. Not the ideal setup for Hawks Gaming, as they are going to fall not 0-2 to kills, but 0-2 to Cloud Drake, or excuse me, to Drakes as well. And a Mountain Drake on the menu would be bad for Hawks Gaming, as it's so much harder to dive on a character when you know you're going to have to burn through about a 300 HP shield before you start doing damage. But also making Pause that much harder to lock down and knock out. As I think Archer should just be able to push down one more turret. Turret plates are going to be falling here fairly soon. About 30 seconds left to do that. On the mid lane here, Honey's going to be pushing down on this turret. Boogie's going to be wandering up here, looking for a little bit of zoning away. Hawks Gaming taking the safe routes for now, so will unfortunately mean, as much as Honey may want it, not gonna have his first item before this Herald comes up, and Archer getting that top lane turret means he is just the slightest bit fed in this kind of a game, as already has Muramana and Stinger, or excuse me, Sheen completed. The question will actually be what he ends up finishing for his Sheen item. I wouldn't be too surprised if he ended up going for a Trinity Force, just to kind of keep the damage up and pour pressure on Hawks Gaming, but yeah, as I was gonna say, the turret plate gold is almost double what Hawks Gaming were able to acquire. They did get 2 turret plates off the top side, and I think both of those went to Honey and Pooh in the top side, in the top lane when that lane swap happened, but that's just pure turret plate gold. That doesn't count the fact that V3 are 3 turrets up, and Honey is feeling exactly how much gold difference that means in the mid lane here. He does have Infinity Edge up, but at about half HP, V3 are just firmly in control of this one, looking for a play onto Armik. Boogie might just be able to 1v1 him, but he has Ace rotating up, and Armik knows it. He's gonna have to make something happen here. A little bit of fancy footwork to try and get out of that one, but there's nowhere to really run. Ace going to sing him a lullaby before he puts the monkey to sleep, and that's gonna be Armik going down again. Pause, gonna get the root off there, get a little extra healing, and make Dasher experience exactly what's been going on in the top lane for most of this one. As Boogie's gonna grab up the second Rift Herald here. Mountain Drake in about 1:30. This is V3 playing textbook to their comp, and there's a reason that they only have 1 loss so far this split. It's not exactly... This isn't an unworkable situation for Hawks Gaming, but it is extremely difficult to get something off. They will throw out the Moonlight Vigil for a multi-man root, as Pooh's going to drag the jungler back in. It's going to be Hawks Gaming getting on the board here, as Reyna might be found out. Going to flash away, use a dredge line as well. The sleep's going to land, but Not exactly like Dasher is in any immediate danger. That's sort of the strength of the Aphelios. When he's able to find value out of that ultimate, he's going to be able to try and harass a bit for this turret, but not a whole lot that you can really do to save it. Honestly, a great look for Hawks Gaming.
これ非常に大きいですね。SHG メインの狙いとしてはダッシュ選手のファーストパイクを待つことなんですが。
This is sort of what I was talking about a little bit earlier, where the choice between Trundle or Graves in this scenario is that both of them, in this scenario, both of them really just need to be way too close to the turret to really get stuff going, and Pooh throwing out the flash there as well. This was just a beautifully executed play by the members of Hawks Gaming. It's not a bad look. And the issue with V3's comp here, or not the issue, but just the potential weakness, is that you need to have all your men rallied so that when you start firing off spells and you're sieging down turrets, you don't have to worry about something like that. But they're going to have to worry about this Mountain Drake going down to about half HP. Tussle's going to get sniped here. He might just be dead to Ace alone on the side lane here. He will. Ace going to find that solo. That means Drake is going to be safely secured by V3 Esports. That's going to be Ace's third kill. A beautiful solo to find Tussle there. Wandering just a little bit too far. Oh my goodness. Ace, don't do it. He's just a boy. The Arcade Barrage not going to knock him down, but Boogie's Smokescreen will. As that's going to be the depth charge over to the AD carry. The Dredgeline not going to find him there. A friendly caster minion taking a dive for Honey in there. As the second charge comes through, there's a Cassidon waiting around the wings. Does have a little bit of potential there, as Tussle's going to go all the way in. It's just going to take too much damage before he can get anything started. Armic is trying to do what he can with those Cyclones, but two members down. V3 are just going to really assert their wallet size in this kind of a game, and V3 not going to be able to end here, I don't think, but should be able to at least open up the inhibitor. Not the most amount of minions, but it looks like they are going to try to knock down a Nexus turret if they can get it. I don't think they can stay for an end. Yeah, I was going to say, the Mantra E comes out. They're going to make the call to back away. But as it stands right now, V3, this is entirely how you need to play out advantages in the early game. And Hawks Gaming, they weren't left with a whole lot of options. We'll watch this one more time as Ace just finds a random Sleepy Trouble Bubble. He had no business knowing where Pooh was. And ends up finding him there. What a snipe from Ace. He's looking to keep his perfect record in this game. Hopefully going deathless for his stats going out to the end of the split here. But this, like I was saying, this is just textbook how you need to play advantages in the early ends of this game, and with the comp that V3 has. Hawks Gaming have a scaling comp, and it will get very scary a little bit later on. But V3 pretty much found an advantage in one way or another across every lane of the game through a little, it started with Boogie finding good value in the jungle and leaving Tussle useless, so he can't bail out any of his lanes. Paz gets a CS lead in the top lane and uses that. Oh, well, hold on a second. As Tussle's going to find a kick onto Paz as I'm mentioning that. This is a very tanky LeBlanc, though, so it's going to take a little while for them to knock him completely down, as they're only going to get him down to about half HP before Armic is forced to retreat. But what I was going to say is, every one of the advantages that V3 acquired on one member, they shared with another. Boogie got an advantage in the jungle, shares that with the Ezreal by passing over a couple of Tussle's camps over to him. Paz gets an advantage in the top lane, and immediately swaps that, so when the Hawks Gaming make the call for the bot lane swap, he's able to absorb pressure and give time to Archer to be able to grab two turrets on the bot side until he's fed as well. This is just going to be Baron pretty much for free. V3's comp has way too much objective control. And while it's never over until the fat lady sings, right now she seems to be singing the story of V3 Esports. As the rest of V3 are going to be looking at this top lane, trying to knock down the last of these outer turrets. They have Baron empowered minions on the top lane and super minions in the mid lane. As it stands, Hawks Gaming just got a little bit too behind the curve. And while sure, Dasher's Roa is starting to reach that 10 item point, or that 10-minute point, it's a little bit too little too late, and there's just not enough damage in Hawks Gaming's lineup that they can really find here. Gonna have a flank play from Aramic, but he is immediately going to be scared away there. And this is just going to be V3 returning once again to this top lane turret. The second round of minions here. Tesla's just kind of throwing out Sonic Waves, but there's almost nothing he can really even do with it if he finds it on a key member. The question will really be if V3 Esports are going to try to end here or if they'll back away for this Mountain Soul. That's going to be Honey going very low before anything even happens. This is V3 with all of the aggression now that the Aphelios is gone. That turret's going to be not long for this world. So Reyna's thinking about throwing out a dredge line. He just commands so much pressure as Archer is just going to go all in onto Aramic. Gonna knock him very low, and Pooh's gonna try to buy his teammate some time, but he's gonna go down in exchange. Tussle trying to harass as much as he can, but the Graves is finding 3 here. Are we gonna see the second jungle pentakill? They're not quite gonna give it to him, as Honey's gonna be taunting them for the safety of his fountain. Boogie wants it, and I understand why, but V3 want their win more, as they're gonna just find a way to put a nail in this one very early on. V3 saying just because we lost one game does not mean we are anything but our usual selves. Winning out on that game and gonna be finding their first win here of week 6. Hawks Gaming going 1-1 in the week against a team like Sengoku. Don't hang your heads too low, Hawks Gaming. That was a great game against Sengoku, but all of that being said, we'll be taking another brief break before we come back for Detonation Focus Me versus Burning Core for Game 4 here. Don't go anywhere. If you guys have been enjoying the stream, I am Dr. No. I do all of the English broadcasting for the LJL. You can drop a follow below if you want to know when I'm going live. I will be doing all of the rest of the split and all of playoffs, so be sure to follow and tune in over here. All of that being said, guys, I do really appreciate you guys stopping in. I'll be signing off for a little bit, and don't go anywhere.
いや強いですね、やはり V3。
いや強いですね。特にまあ本当に何度も言いますが、エースのゾーイが輝いてましたね。
いやトップのシーンですね、やっぱり。
あれですね、あのダブルキル。
あれ。ちょっともう一回見たい、もう一回見たいです。
見たいです。まあ終わりにハイライトがまとめて流れるでしょうから、まあご視聴の皆さんそちらで見ていただければなと思いますが、最終的に1キルのみですか取られたのが、タワーも1本と。
そうですね。
まあ、パーフェクトに近い形ですね。
まあやはり今回結果で語るのであれば SHG はやはり中盤まで耐えてという戦略よりも序盤選択肢の多く主導権を取りに行く戦略の方がマッチしてるんじゃないかなというのはありますよね。
あとその V3 としては、まあ、プレーオフがもう、まあ、ほぼ確定していると、まあ、確定している中で結構その隠していくという選択肢はもちろんチームによってはあるとは思うんですが、トップカルマであったり、まあ、そしてゾイのこのエースのパフォーマンスだったりというところであまりそこは意識していないのかもしれませんね。
まあどちらかというと大きな方向性自体は同じことをやっているので、単純に手札多いんだよっていうのはいい意味で見せているのかなというような印象はありますよね。
なるほど。さあそれでは見事勝利した V3 スポーツよりエース選手のヒーローインタビューありますので、下月さんお願いいたします。
はい、こちら V3 スポーツのエース選手にお越しいただきました。お疲れ様でした。
お疲れ様でした。
本日1戦目勝利いたしました。いかがでした？
まあそうですね、ちょっとソフトバンクの試合は結構昨日から調子いいなと思ってて、で先ほどの試合も勝ってて結構怖かったんですけど、まああっさり勝てて、まあ気持ちいいですね。
な るほど、ありがとうございます。それではイエガーさんお願いいたします。
はい、今エース選手もその福岡ソフトバンクホークスゲーミングかなり警戒していたということを話されてましたけれども、2日連続の試合ということで、その昨日の試合を終えて何かこの試合に対しての準備とかっていうのをチームでされたんですか？